I think we've both had the opportunity to get the agree to disagree agreed upon and, or disagreed upon, however you want to call it. So what else do we need to do on is there anything else on 1603 as it stands? Do you want to just go through, review the bullet or the points?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think we're good on it. If you want to review, we can. It's your call.
It would probably be best if we just ran through the high points to see if there was any questions. My mind's kind of a mush right now, so if I can't remember if I had any questions on anything or not, but that would probably be.
So that would be great. And Mr. Chairman, I do have maybe a little bit of a question when we get to the remodeling and additions. There might be an additional sentence that might be needed.
Eddie, are you wanting to take that? Oh, yeah, we've got a question here.
Do we have anything in writing of like what we're agreeing to? So you're gonna wait until after this?
Yeah, that we have nothing in writing to hand out at this point.
Don't we usually do that before we do an agree to disagree? Like before we sign the agree to disagree, isn't there usually? No? Okay.
No, not always.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, Eddie, if you don't mind, we can.
Sure. Yeah, so the kind of agreement last time was that the concurrent resolution would include a constitutional amendment proposing annual assessed valuation growth limit of 9% or less as provided by law. For tax year 2027, it would use the 2024 assessed valuation as the base year with the 9% growth permitted from that for tax year 2027. This would apply to real estate in the subclasses for residential, commercial, and industrial, agricultural land, and just for people's benefit, agricultural improvements are in the subclass that is commercial and industrial. And it would also apply to the personal property class of mobile homes used for residential purposes. It would be, as I mentioned, effective for tax year 2027. The question would go on the ballot this August, and it would include the specification. It would include the exceptions to the limit generally from SCR 1616 as passed the Senate, including the specification that there can be no increase to value for normal maintenance and repairs as a part of the definition for new construction. And I believe when we left off, you were discussing still the kind of question of the proportionality of new improvements as it related to that exception.
So Eddie, I would also, we had put the transferability language in also.
Yeah. That in my mind that was part of the kind of part and parcel of what was part of SCR 1616. But yeah, the transferability piece of it, that's kind of one of the clarifying one of the non-exceptions.
Right, and on the August ballot, would that be, okay. I think that was all of it. I know, Mr. Chairman, I'm hearing a lot of back and forth on the 9%. I'd just like to confirm you guys are solid there. Okay.
Yes, I guess I shouldn't just nod for the live stream. Yes,
no,
I'll confirm. Yes.
Okay.
That's.
Yeah, I think people are just trying to stir things right now, and stirring's not always good. Of course, I'm not a cook, so, but, okay.
That's all I had. That was my understanding of the agreement,
Okay.
you reached last time.
So, Adam, do you have a suggestion on the sentence on the remodel that it would just be a sentence added to this? It would not define it. It would allow the legislature to have that ability for a new addition because of the exceptions.
I thought when we'd had the conversation, there was, or do we need further clarification?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my understanding the intent was to allow for, if improvements are made to a property, to allow for the increase in proportion to what the improvement would generate as an increase in the assessed value. There was a kind of amendment similar to this that was done on 1616 on the, when the House worked it on the floor. The amendment, I think, did not get on, but the concept would essentially be the same where instead of it be a shall though, which was the amendment, this would be a may, so it would be optional for the legislator to provide for an increase in assessed value to the property in proportion to the increase in appraised value of the property as a result of the improvements when compared with the prior with the property prior to the improvements. So it would allow the legislator to establish the parameters whereby the value could be increased in proportion to what would be the improvement value.
Would that be acceptable, Mr. Chairman? I know that's, it's just allowing the legislature to do that in the future.
Yeah, like I said, I think that's a good concept. I just wanted to make sure that where we hadn't really had time to vet it, I didn't want to deliberately put that language in the amendment, just make sure it's clear that the legislature does have that authority to come in and do that at a later time, so.
I think that would be wise. It would be too difficult to describe that language at this point, and just giving the flexibility. They may never act on that flexibility,
True.
but yeah, okay. So I think we're good.
One person who said that. But exactly. No, I don't. Speaker, somebody. Madam Chair, I forgot. When we broke, we kind of had that agreement. I did hear in talking to some members, and I know we've got an agreement here, so I didn't want to make a big change, but we do have some concern about the August ballot. Is there any chance that the Senate would be willing to move that to November?
So, Mr. Chairman, the Senate position was August. It was the House that amended to November, but if you want us to take a look at that, let us spend a minute.
Okay, yeah, and that's not a major one. That's just one of the topics that came up as we were continuing conversations with our members.
Let me ask.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Chairman, we very much appreciate the offer, but under consideration, we're going to try to protect the Senate position on that. But we do like that the House looked at that. In fact, I didn't see a reason not to do it, but since 30 senators voted on an August ballot, if that's okay with you, we'd just leave it.
No, because that's actually the House position too. I'd forgot as the original contents when we worked it through committee, it came out as the August. So I was mistaken there, and there were some people that had asked about the November, so I'm completely fine if we leave it at August.
Okay. And Mr. Chairman, if you're like me, you're getting asked by about, well, we could just put an average on it per minute. Yeah. So, yeah, I told them this is locked and loaded, guys. So we're ready for bear.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want to ask? Okay. I don't think we have any further questions then, if staff is clear on everything that has been requested. Okay, I think we can move on.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So how do you want to proceed? I know there is one vehicle in committee. We could start talking, or do you want to wait till the other vehicles?
I would love to get started on some of these
Me
others
too.
if possible.
Okay.
I know the House did have 2 other shells. I don't know if they've got Senate conferees yet.
Not yet.
Gosh, I forgot the numbers. I think it was House Bill 2043 and 2046, 2044. Okay. But I know the House has assigned tax conferees, but it sounds like we might still be waiting on Senate conferees until we get those shells. But we did have 2 additional bills to work with,
So do you want to try to decide the first one so that they could start
certainly.
working on it? I'm just to expedite the process however possible.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to start, we have Senate Bill 33 and Senate Bill 434 and Senate Bill 82. Which one do you want to
Mr.
start with?
Chairman, we're sitting a little better than let's start with 33.
Okay,
I think, because that's a very important piece of legislation that we extend that for another year. And then, yeah, and then we can decide what goes in with it.
okay. Did you have a chance to take a look at the formula that the House had put in? It was essentially the same formula that we discussed in our interim committee, but that's been a while, so I didn't know if you'd had a chance to take a look at that to see if the Senate was comfortable with that, or if we wanted to, honestly, if we wanted to strip that out and just go back to a 1-year extension of the freeze, not put the formula in, that's fine too.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you wouldn't mind, it would be nice if we could strip it out. The Senate, we didn't get to have a hearing on it, but I do appreciate your work, and I don't want to lose it. So if you did want to use it, I mean, we did hear it in the interim committee, and we do have the data from it. Either way, there needs to be action taken next year, or maybe not, I guess, if, I don't know, Mr. Chairman, I'll ask. So, Mr. Chairman, we just passed out of committee 2712, which is the allowing the county the 3 cent, up to 3 cents vote of the people. And so I think what we would rather do, if you wouldn't mind, is extending the distribution equation, or that's current for 1 year, strip out the House and put that other language in for the, of course, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself right now. The Senate's intent was to pass that legislation if the assessment and the revenue limit pass. Otherwise, they don't need the local authority, I don't think. But if we're putting on limits on their property taxes, then they do need another avenue. Or what do you, Mr. Chairman, what do you think?
I'm trying to understand the connection between the SCR and the revenue limit and these, because these are, typically, these countywide sales tax are for a project, something specific. I honestly can't remember what all the different projects are in each of these communities, but I don't think passing, I don't think they're tied, they're not related. These projects aren't going, their funding isn't going to be impacted one way or the other if we pass the revenue limit or the valuation limit. Am I missing something?
No, just the logic of they keep blaming us that they have to raise property taxes. And so we thought we'd give them a little bit of room and say, well, you didn't have to raise property taxes, you had another option. So that's what we were looking at.
Right, and I would totally agree if those were general sales taxes, but these are project-specific taxes that they're trying to come and get the additional authority to use that. Was your proposal to combine Senate Bill 33 and 2712 then? Is that what I'm?
Yes, that was what we were proposing. But we would remove the language, the House language we would take the first year of the current equation that's frozen
Okay, so extend the freeze.
and then remove the other language and put this in instead. Did that make it confusing enough?
Okay, so we'll take out the formula for now with the assumption that they'll come up with something, a new way to apportion that, the general sales tax, next year.
Yes, and Mr. Chairman, I was very glad when you were taking the lead on that, and I'm hoping you'll continue to lead us on that. With your background and experience, I think it's better suited.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly acceptable without any,
I just be clear, so we're putting in 2712 and Senate Bill 33 and just extending the freeze a year, but, so it's Senate Bill 12, so they will no longer have to come to us. Okay. I mean, I just.
They have up to 3%.
Yeah, right. Oh, yes, yeah, yes.
yeah, we had that question, I think, it might have been in committee, or I don't know if that was on the floor, but if they ever did max out and they wanted to go up to 4%, yes, they would have to come back to the legislature and we'd start this whole ball domino effect once again. But, and Madam Chair, the only reason that the House had put in an equation was to kind of force them to try to do something next year, because we had the 1-year delay this year with the understanding that we'd come up with a new formula and nothing came forward. So totally trust that that will happen next year and we can come up with that. I think the House would be willing to accept that as Senate Bill 33.
Okay, would you like to add the guilty to it also, Mr. Chairman?
Can we add, because we've got sales tax and income tax, can we kind of?
Yeah.
Well, you did ask that question earlier. We don't have to keep them in silos, income tax, property tax. I think we did that for convenience, but.
I knew that you mentioned yesterday that you would like to get that cleaned up. It could have unintended consequences if we didn't get it passed.
Right.
And
Is there any issue with that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These are all tax components. There's no two-subject concern with including all these together.
Okay. I think that would be great. House passed that on consent calendar, I think unanimous, so that would be an easy one to throw in there, I think, as well.
So, Mr. Chairman, since we are doing county sales tax, it might make sense to put Senate Bill 303 in with these two. Or would you rather save that? No, I meant that is 33. Yeah, Senate Bill 303 into 33.
I think, and I might turn to the revisers for confirmation, if we have 2712, we don't need the individual tax authorities because they would be covered by 2712.
Oh, good point. So we don't need 303 then. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, I mean, Adam, when would this take effect? We haven't put that in. We could put this in to take effect in the register, and then they would have time for this year for an election.
Yep.
Yeah. So, it was Satchel, but, okay. We'll make it the register if that's okay.
Yes, I think House would concur with that. That expedites the process so they can start preparing for those elections.
That'd be great. That takes one off the list. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure which one. There's a lot of important pieces of legislation here. Do you have any suggestions?
Honestly, I think that makes a pretty good bundle in itself. We do have, if we have 434 and 82, and if we get conferees on those other two House bills, we do still have four others to work on, but I think 33 appears to be a pretty good bundle right now.
I think that would be acceptable to the Senate.
Okay. Yep. House would concur. I like that word, concur.
Yes.
Do you want to take a look at 434 or 82? 82 is kind of an open
Let's try-
slate if we want to.
Yeah, let's try
Put some items in there.
434, because I
Okay.
was looking at that, and I think it would make sense to put, of course, that's income tax, but still, most people understand it as property tax, 402. So combining those two into one package possibly, or is that?
Okay. I like that concept. I know the House had made some changes to 402 that did not go across the floor yet, so I didn't know if you wanted to take a look at those and
We need
accept
to.
any of those, or,
Yeah, we need to look at them in detail. But if you are comfortable with combining those two in the same package, then we could start going over the details of both of them, 434 and 402. Mr. Chairman, we may need to, no, we don't have, I don't think, how many signatures do you need on it? That's what I
You've got
thought.
to have a majority
So we
from
don't
each.
have enough signatures on the Senate side on 434. So we will come back and revisit that and figure out what to do on it. So we'll save the homestead, but I think it does make sense to put those together. So let's try 82.
If we start with 82, I was curious, one of the bills that we had in-house that we had a fairly substantial debate on, got out of committee, and then it got sent back to committee, and we did some more work on it. 2773, I know that's one that came over late. I didn't know if you had any reservations about that, where you didn't have a chance to have a hearing on it.
We were not able to have a chance to have a hearing on it. I think it's important legislation. I'm not sure. Let's try to, let me talk about that with these guys, just a second. So, Mr. Chairman, we're going to take a little different direction here on 82 possibly. Maybe if we start with Senate Bill 498 and the provisions that are in it, and then you had a list of tax credits to possibly repeal that was a little longer than ours. But if you would take a look at the list and see where you're at.
Yeah, I apologize. I meant to actually pull that up earlier this afternoon after we kind of reviewed these because I did not have a chance to compare what ones we might have had versus yours. I don't want that to hang things up though because all the ones I had on my list were unused, so they're not being used anyway. We can come back to that next year if we need to, but
Okay, I didn't know if research might have those or have your list also, but I do think we need to start cleaning up the tax credits, and I think we're all in agreement on that. So the more we can get off this year, the better. But are you comfortable with the ethanol tax credit? Okay.
if you don't mind, we'll talk about that a little bit because I know there was some contention when we ran that through the House committee. We actually couldn't get it out of committee, so
Oh, wow.
let me
Okay.
check.
Yeah, no, sure, thank you.
I might turn to staff. I'm not sure if the revisor or research, but on that ethanol fuel credit and the gun storage credit, would you mind just briefly going over what the limits and parameters of both of those programs were? I had written down on my notes that there was a 3-year sunset on both programs. Representative Turner thought the ethanol was capped at $2.5 million. I just didn't know if you could run through those right quick with us.
The higher ethanol blends of fuel credit is a credit of 5 cents per each gallon of E15 or higher ethanol blend fuel sold at retail. And it is capped at $2.5 million per year. It's a 3-year credit that can be carried forward for, I believe, 3 years. And so the years in which it's available are 26 through 28. In the event that that total cap of 2.5 million is exceeded, then it is apportioned to all retailers who have claimed the credit according to their proportionate share of the total amount of credit claimed.
I'd forgot about that apportionment. That's the one I was trying to get at.
Do you want to go to the lockable gun and ammunition storage?
Yes,
credit?
please.
Right. No, there's no. What? Yeah, it has a list. Yeah. The second credit that it creates is the lockable gun and ammunition storage credit. That is a credit of 25% of qualifying expenditures up to $250 per taxpayer per year. And it is for purchases of lockable gun and ammunition storage that is designed primarily for such use. So you can't buy any cabinet that locks and call it a gun locker. And it is tax years 26 through 28. And that allows it to be carried forward. I believe the carry forward for an individual taxpayer on that is indefinite in nature, but the credit itself is just for those 3 tax years, 26, 27, 28. That bill also does contain, that is the Senate bill that contained a repeal of certain tax credits. I believe it was the agritourism liability insurance credit. It's a mouthful. Assistive technology contribution credit, declared disaster capital investment credit, environmental compliance credit, the owners promoting employment across Kansas peak credit. But as a note, that is separate from what you think of as peak. The swine facility improvement credit. All right.
Okay, and was it the environmental one that you wanted to remove from the repeal?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Madam Chair, yeah, we had, going back to that ethanol fuel credit, we had some concern on that in tax committee. However, where we've had a hearing on it, I am willing to keep that as part of the deal to put into Senate Bill 82. We'll just have to see if there's enough concern on that to get it across our floor or not. But I understand these numbers look like they might have pared it down a little bit from when we heard it last year in the tax committee, and it sounds like they have an answer to with the apportionment of the credit. That was one of the big things, if I remember right, from the tax committee hearing. We were concerned if it was first come, first serve, if one person would be able to claim all of the credits, and we didn't like that. So it sounds like some improvements have been made to that from when we had some concerns with the bill.
Okay. So you're okay with the provisions as they stand now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and keep that in with your position on removing the environmental tax credit that you said was had some potential for usage.
And you're okay with the gun storage?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we're going to push our luck a little here. The child care tax credit. I've never really been a fan, but I understand that that is the Senate position. And so we are wondering if you would accept it. I do have heartburn over the refundability. I'm not, that's just me on tax credit programs. I just don't think you should get back more than you pay in. But it is a Senate position. I know the House doesn't have a position on it, so would you take a look at that one, the parameters on it?
Yeah, we will. I know since that's a program that currently exists, I think I said at the beginning here, there's a few things that both chambers sent across late, and I apologize for that on our part. That's just the way the calendar plays out sometimes. I am willing to take a look at that because that is just changing an existing program. That's not trying to implement a brand new or anything that's new policy, so.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That would be great if we could figure out where to land and put that in with it. And then, I don't know if it makes sense to put the RAWS 2-year extension, not the expanded RAWS, the current, basically the tax. I don't know that the education portion is funded at all.
I can check with our fiscal analyst for the Department of Commerce, but I don't know that off the
For
top of my head.
simplicity, we'll just leave the language as is, and then if it's,
I was going to say, I don't think that just changed the sunset date. It didn't change the program. So if it's funded, it's funded. If it's not, it's not. And I'd be fine. You said a 2-year extension. I think that's sufficient, and we can take a deeper dive. It seems like we've said that before. We kick this can down the road and say we're going to take a look at that, and
but Mr. Chairman, I think it was a 5-year extension last time, so maybe this will force us to do something.
okay.
I stand corrected. I think it was less than 5, yeah. Feels like 5.
Yeah, and these are all kind of still income tax related provisions. Not that we have to stick to that, but it does make sense, and it's a lot easier on the chairs to get up and carry the bills when we just have to look at one type of tax. But okay, do you need to go vote?
Mr. Chairman, we were making such great progress, but we are on final action. Do you want us to just go vote and come back down, or what would you like to do?
Yeah, we'll stick around down here unless we get called up on our side. And at least we do have agreement on Senate Bill 33. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And we've got four portions of 498 in it. Pretty much all of it except the environmental tax credit. And then 521, the child tax credit, we were wanting you to take a look at that. And then we had the RAWs for 2 years. That's where we were at.
That's correct.
So where are you at on the child tax credit?
We did have a chance, we tried to utilize our time well while you guys were gone. I had a good conversation with staff to make sure I understood those changes. I will not claim to admit I have a good grasp on all the different things, but at the end of the day, this is a program that we have on the books. It's being underutilized. We're trying to expand the ability for these employers to utilize this credit. We're not expanding the fiscal note at all. It still has the $3 million cap. It's all of the changes seem very reasonable, and if we max this out and we need to come back and increase the cap at some point, that'll be a future legislature to determine that. But I would like to make sure if we can get more of this credit back to the employers, that we do so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only heartburn I would have, I mean, that percentage is high, but like you said, there's a cap on it. So, but the refundability portion, I don't know, are you acceptable of that?
I was going to propose making it non-refundable as the House
Well,
position.
since you're proposing it, no, I'm kidding. Let me ask these guys, but I think, is that the only change that you would want is,
We've still got some heartburn around the ethanol fuel credit.
could we negotiate the dollar amount? From 2 million to, from 2.5 to 2 million?
Yeah, I don't think our objection to that is necessarily on the fiscal side. It's just the, anytime we take a look at tax credit programs, you have to ask ourselves, what are we trying to accomplish here? What are we trying to incent? And it seems, I remember when we had our tax hearing, it seemed like there's people that are already doing this. If we're trying to incentivize offering a different blend of fuel and trying to increase, I understand that, but it just seemed like to us, there's people that are currently doing this now that would be just basically getting a grant to do what they've been doing all along, and this doesn't necessarily go to increased sales or the ones that put in those new pumps and offer a new blend of fuel. I'm not sure I'm prepared to say no on that. We have a little bit of heartburn yet on that provision, so.
So if you could think about it, Mr. Chairman, consider it, and then the child care tax credit, and I don't know, maybe this may not be the vehicle then, if you do have heartburn, but we were wondering if the homestead portion could go in here too. I know that's a lot, but yeah, I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if you would consider that or not.
Yeah,
We could put the homestead in, because there's a lot in that by itself, pieces.
Okay, if we have enough vehicles, I'm just afraid that hour's late and we may
Oh, that's true, too.
lose something.
Well, I wouldn't mind doing the homestead, I just.
Yeah, no, I understand that. My concern is, and this is the way I'm somewhat treating this, is the fact that if we run out of time or, they may just leave it on the table. And some of these things we definitely don't want to lose. So it's however you think best to proceed, though.
yeah. Madam Chair, it looks, Representative Turner's got our we've got to go up on final action right now, so if you don't mind, we'll run upstairs. Do you want to wait for us, or do you want to?
So they would like us to caucus on tax right now.
Okay.
And we did pass 3 tax bills out of committee that's going to go to the floor this evening, at least 2 of them, and 1603.
Okay.
So could we set a time, an estimated time?
Yeah, we're at 5:10 now. Do you think 6 o'clock would be reasonable?
I think that would be sufficient for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
if anything changes, we can just make that announcement from the chamber.
Okay, that would be great. That
All right.
way staff doesn't have to sit around waiting for us.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr.
Yep,
Chairman.
thank you.